Welcome ladies, Benjamin Selby-Hele here, your resident lifestyle and leadership coach. And we're here today with another great nutrition installment. Now, I know for a lot of you, nutrition can be the most challenging thing to grasp. So what I've got in store for you today are 4 key tips, or rather 4 key replacements you can make for some of your more favorite foods, particularly around that evening time when those cravings start to kick in. So by the end of today's video, you'll have 4 changes that you can apply in order to replace things like bread, chocolate, pasta, rice, and mashed potato. Now, I'm sure as I say those things, a few light bulbs and a few eyes are brightening up because they're the things you're perhaps battling with and challenged by for yourself at this given point in time. So the pitfall is, if we don't apply these changes and we don't master that evening eating, well, the consequences aren't great. I mean, you'll continue to garner low energy, particularly if you're loading up on energy at the end of the day and you're not getting in it at the start. You'll feel lethargic throughout the course of the day. There's the opportunity for potential weight gain and or no change in your weight if you're looking to try and reduce your weight. Particularly if you've plateaued and you've still got things like bread, pasta, rice, and normal potato in at the evening. It's going to be challenging for you to reduce that weight and break through that plateau if you don't make some changes. So the best news is, if we apply these replacements, if we take hold of these replacements and apply them to the nth degree, the bonus is we get more energy, we're going to be reducing our weight in a pretty quick period of time after applying it consistently for only a short period, and our cravings are going to subsequently reduce as well. So you won't have cravings for those things in the evening. They'll diminish a little bit. So what I want you to take a moment to do now is think, why is this so important for me? Why is this so important for me and my family to make these changes? What's it stopping me from achieving if I don't apply these changes? Just think about that for a moment and really hone in on the reason why. And that'll give you more conviction and more preparedness to apply these changes and these replacements. But first, we've got to set the scene. So what are the principles? How do we change these things? Especially if we're not really aware of them. Well, our first principle, our first of 4, we've got to identify the issue. Identifying the issue is really important. So if you've got a problematic area within your nutrition, first and foremost, we've got to identify that, and then we can start to devise a bit of a strategy and a ways and a means to overcome that issue at the moment. Secondly, once we've identified it, let's look at the replacement list that I'm going to introduce to you in a moment. Look at the replacement list and see if it is just a case of an easy swap and an easy change. So thirdly, once we've chosen our replacement, make that change. Really simple. Just apply that change and action it immediately. The next shop you do, replace the thing that you're challenged by, replace the issue item with the replacement item. And then, lastly, our 4th principle, apply that new replacement for a month. Apply it for a month within the family household. So you can start to gauge the impact on you and your family members, your partners and your kids and what have you. Now, chances are there'll be a little resistance at the start. That's absolutely normal. That's human nature. We don't want to change. But if you can apply it consistently for a month, I virtually guarantee you that by the end of that month, they'll be none the wiser and they'll be fully converted to these new replacements. All right, so I'm sure you're all wondering, what are the replacements? How do we actually action this? It's one thing knowing the principles, all right, but what are the replacements themselves? All right, firstly, let's tackle bread. Bread's something that we all can enjoy, some more so than others. But if you find eradicating bread out of your diet is really challenging and it's holding you back, then I want you to replace that bread with something like corn thins or rice cakes or mountain bread. Mountain bread's probably a really good starting point. Or if you want to take it back a step further, choose sourdough. So you can adopt like a 100% sourdough type bread, and that's probably the best bread that you can go with. And then if you're comfortable with that and you want to step it up again, go the mountain bread and or the corn thins and the rice cakes. So there's our first replacement. Our second replacement, How can we replace things like mashed potato and rice? I know they're usually common fixtures in a lot of households for evening meals. So how do we go about changing these? Really simple. The answer, the replacement, the thing that's stepping up, the food that's stepping up is cauliflower. So if you break cauliflower up into little pieces, you can then steam that and it'll have the same texture and the same sort of consistency as that of rice. And you can utilize that for all your curries or your stir fries or what have you. And just that simple change is reducing an extreme amount of carbohydrates in that evening meal. Likewise, you can utilize cauliflower to replace something like mashed potato. So as you would with the potatoes, steam the cauliflower, cook it, and then just simply mash it up. Even overcook it so it's really super soft. And the consistency, well, they're virtually identical. And again, that taste you'll get accustomed with, but they're really not far off the mark of each other. Thirdly, this is my favorite, zucchini. Well, I just revealed it earlier. That's the replacement vegetable. That's for pasta. If you're a big pasta addict, if you can replace pasta with zucchini, now you can either shave it and then cut it into strands, or there's actually pasta makers that will turn your zucchini into pasta-like pieces, and you can utilize that for your spaghetti, for all your pasta dishes, and it gives the same consistency and almost same sort of taste as pasta, but it's nowhere near as damaging from a carbohydrate standpoint. And it'll help with indigestion, with digestion, because there's lots of fibre in zucchini. Lastly, probably a favourite of a lot of us, but chocolate. How do we start to wean ourselves off that chocolate and reduce those cravings? Well, if you're talking run-of-the-mill normal chocolate like Cadbury Dairy Milk or something along those lines, that's probably the worst we can get. So what I want you to strive to do is just introduce dark chocolate. You don't have to eradicate chocolate completely, but when you're going to reach for the Cadbury Dairy Milk, have a piece of dark chocolate instead. And the darker the chocolate, or the higher the percentage of cacao in the chocolate, the better, and the more you'll progressively be able to wean yourself off it. So like an 80, or you can start off with like a 70% cacao and move you up to an 80, 85%. So I want you to think for a moment, how will it be when you implement these changes? How drastic a change will that have on your family for the betterment of their own health? Remember, we've got our 4 replacements. So for bread, we go corn thins and or mountain bread or the sourdough if you really need to start off slowly. Secondly, we've got our potato or mashed potato and our rice. We utilize the cauliflower. And then thirdly, we've got our pasta, which we replace with zucchini. And then lastly, the chocolate, that little sweet tooth, start to reduce the sweetness of it by introducing a dark chocolate. The higher the cacao percentage, the better, and the stronger you'll become at resisting those cravings, and they'll be less intense as well. All right, ladies, with that being said, focus on your process and continue to enjoy the journey. I'm going to be seeing you tomorrow for a mindfulness episode.